Okay, so for mine and Sasha's section, we got expansion of the Pacific. And for the first section is expansion of the Pacific. So William H. Seward, he thought that the U.S. had to impose. First off, he was the Secretary of State, and he thought that the U.S. had to impose Asia's economic domination. And so basically, he believed that the U.S. had to remove foreign powers from its northern Pacific coast and get access to its valuable ports. And the Alaska Purchase. So while Seward was trying to convince British Columbia of becoming a part of U.S. territory, he heard that Russia wanted to sell Alaska, and in the end, the U.S. ended up purchasing Alaska, and they thought it would influence British Columbia's decision. And they bought Alaska for $7.2 million, but overall, it was a good purchase because of the gold and the oil. And the major focus. So the State Department's major focus was to gain key ports in the Pacific Ocean, and Samoa and Hawaii had especially strategic positions. And the next section is Samoa. And the treaty that was signed in 1878, it allowed the U.S. to have a naval base at Bago Bago, and it allowed Americans to remain subject to U.S. law only while in Samoa. And it called for the U.S. to help fix any disputes with any other nations. After this treaty, German and British governments arranged similar agreements with other islands. And then the peace conference in Berlin. So following civil war in Samoa in 1887, Berlin held a peace conference in 1889 that established a protectorate over Samoa. And a protectorate is basically where a state is controlled and protected by another one, or by another state. And yeah. And then the next section is Hawaii and the Unified Kingdom. So the Hawaiian Islands had been a unified kingdom since 1795, and they had a substantial population of American Christian missionaries and a successful crop, which was sugarcane. In 1875, Hawaii signed a reciprocal trade agreement allowing its sugar to enter the U.S. duty-free, but in return they asked that the U.S. promise that none of Hawaii's territory would be leased or granted to a third power. And then the Hawaiian population was reduced in the 1900s. The native Hawaiian it was reduced to a minority when smallpox and other diseases were spread. And then restricting political power of American planters. So in 1891, Queen Liliuokalani, I haven't learned how to pronounce her name. Sorry, guys. She tried restricting the political power of American planters, and a couple of years later, Hales, they were basically Hawaii's white population. They overthrew the monarchy, and later on, someone representing the Hales asked the U.S. to annex the islands. And after a while, in 1898, the U.S. annexed Hawaii despite the protests of Native Hawaiians. And yeah, and the next is Works Cited, which is boring. Okay, bye guys.